think basically he was just passing through for the evening, and we just got lucky, is what happened.
That's the voice of Kennett, Missouri Police Chief Kenny Wilson. Wilson says his fellow officers got lucky back in January 1999, the night they stumbled upon a wanted man from Arkansas hiding out in their motel. It was 11:30 on January 12th. Wilson was a Kennett patrolman at the time. He was not on duty that night, but he's heard the story many times and knows it well.
Basically, they just got bored that night, went around running license numbers at the hotels, which led to a hit on a stolen license plate.
The clerk at the Super 8 told the officers the vehicle with the stolen plates belonged to a man named Thomas Mitchell in room 323. They knocked on the door. According to the Kennett police report, a woman later identified as Rose Fultz answered and appeared to be drunk. Her 3 daughters were in the room with her. She told police the car was hers and Thomas Mitchell was gone. She agreed to let them search. One of the officers noticed someone hiding under one of the beds. At the same time, Fultz is described as becoming very loud and combative. They put her into handcuffs. One of the officers then pulled the mattress away to reveal the suspect, who had a small, semi-automatic pistol pointed at his head. The officers ordered him to drop the weapon, but he refused. More officers arrived, and the suspect told them to leave so he could call his attorney. The officers left, and the suspect locked the door behind them. One of the Kennett officers established contact with the suspect by phone. He started throwing things out of the room: clothing belonging to the woman and the 3 children, a 9mm pistol with a loaded magazine, a handful of .380 caliber bullets. And soon officers learned who they were dealing with. At the Kennett police station, Rose Fultz told them the man's real name was Robert Eugene Brashears. A quick check revealed Brashears' outstanding warrants. But current Kennett Police Chief Kenny Wilson thinks Brashears' actions that night showed he was worried about much more than just getting arrested.
Obviously, he probably thought they were there for other reasons, you know, but with his past, he knew what he had done in the past and thought maybe the officers knew.
Whatever he was thinking, Robert Eugene Brashears would spend the last 4.5 hours of his life in that Kennett motel room. It was just him and his AMT backup model .380 pistol, the same gun he was found carrying just 2 days after the 1991 yogurt shop murders, the same make and model he used to shoot 13-year-old Amy Ayers in Austin, Texas, and 43-year-old Linda Rutledge in Lexington, Kentucky, just 2 months earlier. Kennett officers had no idea they had caged a killer who must have finally decided he had no way out. At approximately 4:34 a.m., Wednesday, January 13th, 1999, a single shot was heard coming from inside room 323 at Kennett's Super 8 motel. 6 members of law enforcement entered the room with a pass key and found Robert Brashears on his back with that .380 pistol in his right hand. He had a gunshot wound to the right side of his head at the temple area that exited on the left side. One of the officers pulled that suicide note from his right front pocket. It read, "In the event you are reading this, I am dead. Please, I beg you, contact Rose Fultz at an address in Paragould, Arkansas. Do not contact my father," with a second address. "He just came out of the hospital from cancer surgery, and it will kill him if the cops tell him. Thank you." Robert Brashears was rushed by ambulance to a local hospital, where he was later pronounced dead. By some accounts, he lived 6 more days on machines. Either way, he was gone.
You never know what's going through somebody's mind when they go through something like that. And obviously, he had a past that he knew about and wanted to keep hidden, I guess. And the officers had no idea at the time.
But current Kennett Police Chief Kenny Wilson does remember them all talking about how unusual the whole incident seemed, even when they learned who Robert Brashears was and what his criminal record showed at that time.
It's pretty extreme for him to go to those measures just over a stolen license plate.
According to the Kennett Police report, the chief at the time, Joe Brumley, took possession of Brashears' .380 pistol. A Kennett captain handled his 9mm pistol. Police also collected $2,600 in cash found in Brashears' hotel room. The actions of the Kennett Police Department following the suicide of Robert Brashears would be put under the microscope decades later, after Brashears was finally identified as a serial killer. But in January 1999, it was simply a weird case involving a 40-year-old criminal who took that extreme way out. Brashears' family buried him back in Paragould, Arkansas, and law enforcement forgot about him.
It certainly told us that we had somebody that was traveling. In my mind, it certainly told us we had a serial killer.
The 2006 DNA link between the murders of Sherry and Megan Shear in Missouri and Genevieve Zatricki in South Carolina gave investigators in both states a new perspective on their suspect. Highway Patrol Sergeant Jeff Heath remembered heading down to South Carolina shortly after the match was made.
It gave us some more leads, more direction. Obviously, it reinforced what we believed to be true, that this wasn't a one-time thing. Well, we knew it wasn't a one-time thing because we went from Portageville to Dyersburg.
It also changed the way investigators looked at their suspect. Here's retired patrol captain Phil Gregory.
The blitz attack and Jenny looked completely different than what we'd seen. So it kind of made you pause and take a step back and rethink where you'd been going.
FBI profilers also stressed the killer would have some kind of connection to both Missouri and South Carolina. Sergeant Cooper explained it this way.
The most important thing that they told us was that you're going to find something that links your killer to South Carolina in 1990 and to Portageville in 1998. And not necessarily that he lives here or that he works here, could have friends here. Something took him to South Carolina in 90 and something brought him here in 98.
Could be friends, family, work, but it's something.
Something.
So now you're looking for that something.
That's right.
To find that something, the multi-state team decided to look very deliberately for someone with ties to both areas. Using a geographic mapping system, they created a list of people who lived within 100 miles of the South Carolina crime scene in 1990, and also lived within 100 miles of the Portageville and Dyersburg crime scenes in 1998. That system spit out a list of more than 300 names. Here's New Madrid County Sheriff Terry Stevens reacting to that list when they first got it back in 2008.
Initially, I was amazed that there would be that great a number of people that actually had ties to both locations during these two time periods.
As investigators worked through that list of 300 names, America's Most Wanted featured the Shear and Zatricki cases together in 2009. Retired Highway Patrol Captain Phil Gregory remembered getting some really encouraging leads from that broadcast.
I can think of two different instances that children called America's Most Wanted tip line and said, "It's my dad. I know it is," crying, upset, and you think, oh my gosh, for a child to call and report their father, this has got to be a good lead, and then it just fizzles out, so to speak.
Those leads would continue to come in and fizzle out over the next several years. A check of the Shear case file shows investigators continued tracking down possible suspects off that list of 300 names, both alive and dead. I asked Chris Hensley if he and Bud Cooper ever lost hope.
No, we knew we were going to find him. Bud's drive was not going to say that. He was too driven, and that kept me going. we knew we were going to catch him.
Just a matter of time.
Yep.
And then in 2017, a big city police department decided to finally test a rape kit that had been sitting on a shelf since 1997, a full year before Sherry and Megan were murdered. It's a decision that would bring the next big break in the Scheer and Zatricki cases and reveal a link to a violent sexual assault with living victims. Here's how Highway Patrol Sergeant Bud Cooper described the new lead and its significance.
It was a 1997 rape out of Memphis, Tennessee, and we were able to, through their reports, figure out what was said, how he acted, what he did. The guy talked his way in, used a ruse to get into his foot in the door to the house.
The Memphis link also helped bring the 20-year Scheer investigation to a stunning close when a pioneering expert in genetic genealogy finally unearthed a serial killer.
He was here in Greenville. He was here. He was there. He's a violent criminal. He looks, I even put in my report those sketches compared to the Facebook picture and said, look, it's the same hat. It's the same glasses.
That's next on Chapter 4 of Chasing a Ghost, A Monster Revealed.